South African Democratic Teachers Union in KwaZulu-Natal says teachers and pupils should not feel obligated to wear traditional regalia in honor of AmaZulu King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. The union says no cultural ethos must be dominant over others in public schools. The union wants the Provincial Education MEC and HOD to explain their stance. So for more on this story, we're joined now by the union's Provincial Secretary, Noma Rashia Xaluza. Thank you so much, Noma Rashia, for your time this evening. First of all, I mean, even the circular that was sent out to schools, signed by the head of department, looking at how saying that on August 30th, all schools in KZN should wear their traditional regalia in honor of King Misuzulu kaZwelithini. I mean, when you were aware or made aware of the circular as Sadtu, what was your initial response to this?
Thank you and good evening to the viewers. Firstly, we must congratulate the King on his new roles and responsibilities and hope that the monarch will continue with the support it has been given to the Department of Education as the previous king was doing. Firstly, we must say that unfortunately, we got this circular on social media, and then our reaction is what we have issued today as a statement to say the Department of Education, both the MEC and HOD, have to be sensitive of this issue, because as we celebrate this, but it cannot be something that is imposed on schools to say they dedicate tomorrow, the 30th of August, as the day to celebrate this, because our constitution of the country gives freedoms, cultural and religious freedoms to people, and it must not be imposed, and that is why schools must be used for nation building. And in engaging in nation building activities, there's no culture that must be dominant over others. Our schools must support everyone and support all beliefs, all traditions and cultures, and must allow a situation where people are united under the South African Schools Act in any public school in the country in South Africa.
You know, as I'm taking a look at even the response that you had to this circular, saying that, look, it is a part of a proud history in the province, no lies detected there. Of course, it is a proud moment for the province. It is a proud moment for the Zulu nation. It is a moment of reflection for South Africans alike as we really hone in on traditional leadership and the role of traditional leadership within the South African context. However, with that said, does it risk setting one particular ethnic group over another? And what about all the other children who may not necessarily be Zulu and who may not necessarily identify with the culture? Does it also risk marginalizing, or even what was supposed to be a moment of celebration could actually be turned into a moment where it could start a little bit of division, especially amongst the learners and the teachers?
Exactly, that is our point, especially because in KZN we do have incidents of faction fights that move from communities to schools, and it ends up dividing schools in the province. So that is why we believe that September, as it is the Heritage Month, is 1 month that can be used in celebrating and allowing everyone to celebrate his or her culture without being told that to celebrate this one you need to do this, or you are encouraged to do 1, 2, 3 in terms of wearing the traditional attire or what. The MEC and the HOD, our belief is that they should have waited for September to kick in and then allow people to celebrate their diversity, and that would have created a situation where even the celebration of the history that has just been made through the coronation of the king is celebrated through within the context of celebrating the Heritage Month.
Yeah, as Sadtu, have you received any form of response from the department?
You see, because they never consulted us, and I don't think they consulted the school governing bodies. So what we did, we just issued this. But I must say that I did make a phone call to the MEC as well as the HOD to say this move by themselves, or the decision and the circular was uncalled for, and it can create problems for the department. So we're still waiting to hear what they have to say, because we have even said they must clarify themselves whether there will be consistency in what they are doing, considering that there are many cultures, there are many beliefs, and people, there are many beliefs, as we have said. So they have to clarify themselves why they did this and whether there will be any consistency moving forward.
Well, August 30 is tomorrow, right, Noma Rashia? So that means that whether or not we like it, schools and children who perhaps have received the circular, have internalized the circular, believe that tomorrow they must wear some kind of traditional attire in honor of King Misuzulu Kazwelithini. So are you as Sadtu now saying, take what was given by the MEC in the form of a circular as well as the HOD and completely disregard it? Tomorrow wear your normal school uniform and continue with school as business as usual?
Our responsibility as such is also to educate the people. We believe that through this statement we've educated people, so it's in themselves to take a decision. But also what we are frowning at is the undermining of the school governing bodies that at all times have to be given that autonomy to make decisions around what the kids must wear in schools. So we've educated the people, so the decision is theirs to take. But we also appreciate, because we've been receiving a response from many people and many teachers who are saying now we have a proper guidance, and we now understand, because they were questioning themselves about this thing.
Do you think that it was irresponsible for the MEC in the province as well as the HOD to even issue such a circular?
Yes, it was. Remember, I'm saying we are all celebrating the history that has just been made. But people and those in authority have to be sensitive and be understanding of the policies that govern their departments or the areas where they operate. There are school governing bodies, there's education policy around these issues.
It certainly is going to be an interesting one. As I said, August 30 is tomorrow. Not to say and not to take away from the fact that history has to be preserved. And perhaps we need a bigger conversation, Omar Rashia, about how is it that we can preserve this history, preserve what our cultural dynamics and the historical context of our country in books, right, in textbooks, so that knowledge can be passed down, so that children don't forget, and we're not just stopping at wearing of regalia. But we have to leave it here for this evening. Thank you very much for your time. Sadtu is the KZN Secretary, Omar Rashia, just responding to that circular that was issued by the MEC in the province as well as the HOD of August 30th being a day to celebrate, obviously, the coronation of King Misuzulu Kazwelithini, saying that the young people must, and the teachers actually, must wear their traditional attire. Maybe we need to go beyond traditional attire, don't we, and look at how is it that we can look at preserving history in books, pass down the knowledge so that everybody can have access to it.